What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So if you are watching this, then you are watching from the public YouTube channel. So this isn't typically like the videos that I normally upload. This is going to be me doing a reaction and sort of watching over this content from a Joe Rogan podcast, which is fairly recent, where Joe Rogan interviewed a guy that goes by the name of Python Cowboy. I think that's his YouTube handle. And apparently this guy found a satanic site while he was searching for pythons. And I have not watched this video in its entirety yet. So as a professional occultist, I thought it would be kind of an interesting thing if I watched it for the first time while I'm recording it here, in sort of breaking down some of the occult symbols that I see that come up while they're talking about what it is that they're going to be talking about. Okay, so it's just going to be me just kind of giving my perspective on what's going on there as someone who is a professional occultist who really understands these things. All right, so with that being said, let's go right into it. So I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to play it, and I'm going to stop as we go along when I need to stop.
Since 1965, there's only been 175 unsolved cases involving deaths and murders. Okay. That's just the bodies.
So they're talking about the Florida Everglades. So this is where the guy was searching, in the Florida Everglades.
But that's like deaths and murders. Well, I would imagine that would be a good place to drop off.
That's kind of what I was going to say. It's a very good place to go hide stuff. I've found vehicles that were used in crimes dumped out there. I've found dogs from dog fights that were dumped out there. I've found animals that have just been dumped. I've found very intricate and mind-blowing satanic rituals and sacrifices out.
Satanic rituals and sacrifices. There we go.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I was, which I found different stuff before. You know, I'll find maybe where someone was doing some voodoo, some Santa Maria, sacrificed a chicken, whatever. All that's like kind of normal out there. That's not that crazy. But what I found this night was very crazy. Yeah, the police came and investigated it. It made the news, and that's the facility I was hunting. It's Aerojet. It's actually an abandoned space rocket facility from the Cold War, where they were developing and testing space rockets.
And what were you hunting there?
Pythons. I was out there, you know, hunting these snakes, and this facility is.
So he's hunting pythons, and then he comes across this facility, and he already has a little bit of an experience with finding really weird shit when he's hunting for pythons in this specific area, the Everglades. And he has seen ritual sacrifices before that he said was connected to Santeria and certain practices of voodoo. He's seen all kinds of things that have been dumped in this Everglades that probably shouldn't be there.
You need special access. I was given special access by the state of Florida to remove pythons from out there. And nobody can just go back out there, but people.
And after this, we're actually going to watch his video. So he uploaded a video, I believe, of this actual experience, and we'll watch that. I think that's what it's on that little screen right there that you see. I think that's his original video. Yeah, that is. So we're going to watch that after this.
You go out there, as you can see from the graffiti and different stuff like that, usually to do stuff that they're not supposed to do. There's a lot of crimes committed out there. There've been murders out there, gang initiations, all kind of stuff.
So they have a pentagram that's.
So yeah, it's a whole thing. So we go out there. The first thing I came across was a big rock pile with a upside down wooden cross on top and a bunch of red spray painted upside down crosses all over. And you could tell the cross, I think, was burnt a little bit.
Okay, so the first thing that they see is an upside down wooden cross, which is symbolic of the deeper levels of occult initiation connecting to the Qliphoth, which is highly related to what is known as the underworld, which is a form of spiritual self-development that is directly related to deep unconscious processing and emotional processing in regards to things that we've gone through in our past, like traumas. So this is a part of ourself that most of us are afraid to process and most of us are afraid to feel. So the upside down cross, as you can look at this Kabbalistic tree, let me switch my screen over 1 second. So as you look at this Kabbalistic tree here, you can see the supernal triad, which is the top 3 spheres, connecting into the sphere of the sun. So when you hear a lot of talk about Jesus Christ being the Son of God, that's Kabbalistic in nature, where this is the sphere of the sun, and the God sphere is the source sphere of Kether, which is crown. So when they talk a lot about Jesus, that's actually connecting us to the Christ, the sun sphere on this Kabbalistic tree here. And as you see, there's an archetypal pathway that crosses over. This is called the crossing of the abyss. And that's the archetype of the high priestess. And then over here, you have this archetype of the empress, which crosses along it, which creates the actual cross. That's the symbol of the cross. Jesus dying for everyone's sins, going to heaven, was the cross of the abyss. The only difference is you don't necessarily need to sacrifice yourself for everyone else's sins. That's the big religious programming that they try to program into people. But this is the upside down cross. So this is what is known as the clip off. And this is like the part of ourself. It's the part of our DNA that is more so negatively charged in nature. And when it comes to initiation as a black magician, someone who works with demonic energies, we are actively using these demonic energies on ourselves to break down areas of our own programming so that we can remember who and what we truly are. And for people that are more so drawn towards black magic, we actually tend to have a soul resonance with the darker side of evolution itself. So in other words, this can be known as the negative polarity, which means we use, as the souls that we are, we use our own awareness and we use our own influence to create catalyst in the world around us. So we're basically like the cosmic cleaners, if you want to look at it from that lens. We use energy to break down beliefs and ideas and mindsets that certain people have that are not in alignment with who they truly are. So we break down artificial awareness. And in that process of us using that dark energy and using that chaos intentionally, we gain power. Now, also the Black Magician's Path is all about loving yourself over everything else. It doesn't mean we don't love other people. It doesn't mean we don't love other things, but we polarize the love of ourself much more than the average person does. And that's why we start to worship and see ourselves as a god, because we're polarizing our focus and our intention towards ourself, recognizing that the source exists in our universe and also exists within us. And what we choose to polarize is that source being within ourself rather than just externalizing it. We understand the bigger picture. We understand everything's connected, but we just choose to polarize that focus and polarize that intention. So the upside down cross is always going to be a symbol of the Black magician initiates who's traveling into their own underworld or traveling into their own deepest portions of the subconscious mind to start processing past unhealed traumas, integrating them and becoming powerful and becoming your own god in the process. Because literally, as you do that, as you process all that junk that was carried in your bloodline and you integrate it with the intention of loving yourself and serving yourself as the main focus, you can literally become a god on this planet. You can display qualities that are psychic to the degree that you actually look like a physical, you look like and you can do things that are the physical manifestation of what people would call being a god manifest on this planet. So there's a lot of that symbolism that goes there when it comes to the upside down cross, just to throw that out there. The reverse pentagram, same thing. So I have this right here. I have the pentagram on my ring. Let's see if I can get a focus on there. It's got my other ring in focus. So it's the pentagram on my ring right there. The pentagram, the reverse pentagram, is a feminine symbol. This is a very magnetic symbol which connects into north, east, south, west, and spirits, which is fire, water, air, and earth, and then spirits. So it's like all aspects of self, mental, emotional, physical, psychological, and spiritual are now in alignment with that negative portion of the soul, which truly is feminine in nature, magnetic in nature. This also ties into why there's so many connections between vampires and the darker aspects of the occult, because they have that that archetypal connection to sucking energy or pulling in, right? It's all about feminine energy. It's all about receptivity and pulling inwards, being magnetic. So as you can see, once again, on the Kabbalistic tree, we have the masculine pillar, which is the white pillar, and we have the feminine pillar, which is the black pillar. And you can see on the feminine pillar, we have the sphere of Gavura, which is Mars. And that's in the older Judaic texts when it comes to the documentation on the Qliphoth, which is the darker sides of occult initiation. It was said that the doorway into that darker side, so the doorway from basically the tree of life into the tree of knowledge, was the sphere of Gavura, which is the sphere of Mars, which just happens to be the red sphere. So this is why when you look at a lot of satanic rituals that revolve around initiation, you're going to see a lot of red symbolism. And that also connects us into another feminine energy, which dates back to the Babylonian times and the Scarlet Woman. So the Scarlet Woman, let me see if I can actually pull something up, because I'm on a screen share. So let me see if I can do something to show you what the Scarlet Woman's about. Scarlet Woman. Okay, so let me screen share real quick so you can kind of read along with me here. Okay, so I searched up the Scarlet Woman, and it says a woman who is notorious for having many casual sexual encounters or relationships. And then here's a little example. I will not consent to be portrayed in the press as a Scarlet Woman. So that's what the dictionary saying is for that. And I mean, obviously, if you look at our modern times today, how many women are acting as Scarlet Women, right? There's a lot that are. And even when we go back to that one music video that I broke down recently on my YouTube channel, we have the Doja Cat song, who's like, fuck it, I'd rather be famous instead. I'm going to paint the town red. So that's kind of spreading that Scarlet Woman energy. Now, the Scarlet Woman is much more ancient and sacred than just what this dictionary example is giving us. So it really does here, as we go into this piece of things. Actually, let me see if I can find something a little better. Here we go. So it dates back to the Babylonian time. So as you can see here, this is the Babylonian times, and known as the Scarlet Woman, the Great Mother or Mother of Abominations. So this is like this dark feminine energy that truly does exist within our universe, that nurtures everyone, truly nurtures everyone, but for sure also nurtures the souls that are in resonance with being a black magician or being on the negative polarity. Because we live in a time today where there's so much religious indoctrination where people don't really understand that some people are meant to be black magicians. Some people are meant to serve themselves over others. And that's just a part of their soul resonance. It's a part of them being what they're meant to be here to create balance and manifest balance on this planet. So the Scarlet Woman is that, we could say, that dark feminine energy that naturally exists within our universe that nurtures souls that are in resonance with the darker sides of spiritual evolution itself. So Mother of Abominations. Because in today's time, if you came out and you're like, hey, I'm a black magician, everyone, you're going to be an abomination by your family, your friends, your coworkers, and all that other stuff. Is a goddess found in the occult system of Thelema, which was established in 1904 with the writing of the Book of the Law by English author Aleister Crowley. The spelling of the name as Babylon was revealed to Crowley in the vision of the voice. Her name and imagery feature prominently in Crowley's Liber Cheth Vel Valum Abagini. Okay, so here we go. In her most abstract form, Babylon represents the female sexual impulse and the liberated woman. So it's the female sexual impulse and the liberated woman. So it's basically a woman who has her own sexual freedom. And due to religious programming and religious indoctrination, so many women have been cut off from that energy. So it makes sense that just naturally the way that the Scarlet Woman is manifesting in society today is creating a massive counterbalance compared to what was previously happening in our recent past. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, things were way different. So in the creed of the Gnostic Mass, she is also identified with Mother Earth because it's a part of that Mother Earth feminine universal energy in her most fertile sense. Along with her status as an archetype or goddess, Crowley believed that Babylon had an earthly aspect or avatar, a living woman who occupied the spiritual office of the Scarlet Woman. Yes, so there are women that literally embody that energy. So that Scarlet Woman entity that exists within the universe, there are many women that become living embodiments of that energy and can basically channel it down and become that goddess in manifest form, if you will. Let's see. The role of the Scarlet Woman was to help manifest the energies of the Aeon of Horus. So in other words, the energy of the Scarlet Woman is meant to help initiate a soul into their spiritual initiatory journey. And primarily, the Scarlet Woman initiates souls into their own underworlds. It initiates souls into the Kabbalistic realm, the deepest portions of their unconscious. So you could also think of the blood moon. When you think of the moon and how the moon cycles function and how the moon affects the emotions, well, think of a blood moon compared to a regular moon. The blood moon is intensified, and there's just a lot of emotion behind it, a lot of negative emotion. It's not a bad thing, but it's a part of the blood moon. And that emotion that comes to the surface is meant to be felt so it can be processed and then integrated. And then you gain power from that, the more you're processing. So that's what the Scarlet Woman can initiate you into in regards to those portions of yourself that most of you are spending the majority of your time actually trying to run away from. And then, let's see. Crowley believed that several women in his life occupied the office of Scarlet Women, for which see the list below. Yes. And I have had many women in my life that have played that role as well. I've had women that have played that role when I was with them. And then when I left, they kind of stepped out of that role. And then I've seen women that embody that energy and just stay in that energy. So it's dynamic. It's not black and white here. Babylon's consort is chaos, called the father of life in the Gnostic Mass. Consort is chaos. So then this is going to be that connection between the Scarlet Woman and the underworld, the Scarlet Woman in those deepest portions of the unconscious mind. It's chaos. And it's not that chaos is bad. See, people demonize chaos. Chaos is what we all are and we all exist within, right? But we need to learn how to work with chaos by understanding the natural laws that govern our universe so that we don't get hurt by chaos, so that that chaos doesn't turn on us and hurt ourselves. We want to work with it and we want to let it flow and give it direction so it can move into something. Okay? So working with the Scarlet Woman energy is intense and it requires a healthy foundation. Let's see. Okay, so as Crowley wrote in the book of Thoth, she rides astride the beast In her left hand, she holds the reins, representing the passion which unites them. So the beast is that inner primal self that you have. It's like that inner demon. And you have to be at a certain level of spiritual growth and evolution to allow yourself to fully embody that and embrace it. This is like the part of you that realizes people are stepping on your boundaries. It's the part of you that realizes you've been giving your power away, and now you're going to completely reclaim it for yourself and redirect that intention towards yourself to love yourself and be the best version of you that you could possibly be. Even if that means you have to send out destructive energies to break certain attachments or set healthy boundaries. That's that inner beast. All right. It's a very destructive energy. In her right hand, she holds aloft the cup, the Holy Grail, aflame, love and death. Okay. The Holy Grail aflame with love and death. So that's like the two very opposite polarizations of energy. You have to die to many parts of yourself to actually experience love and to know what love is. And working with the Scarlet Woman energy is, extremely intense, because you can't experience love for yourself or for anything else if you're not willing to die to the parts of yourself that you're attached to that are preventing you from actually processing what it is that you need to feel based on your trauma, your past unhealed trauma that can even go back several different generations, because those traumas are what govern you on an unconscious level. So that is some of what's going on with the Scarlet Woman here. There's also more that we could go into, but yeah, we don't really need to go into all that. Maybe another time we'll go into that. I think I'll make a separate video and we'll talk specifically about the Scarlet Woman. We'll read through some of this stuff. But with that being said, that's what we wanted to look at in regards to the Scarlet Woman. So let me go back to that YouTube video and we're going to pick up where we left off. It's important to have that context because that's a big part of Satanism. It's a big part of Luciferianism. It's a big part of understanding black magic. All right, let's get into it.
And it wasn't, crazy, super crazy. It was like, oh, this is new. This wasn't out here a few days ago. And then I found this little doll. And as I kind of investigated that doll more, a little red scarlet snake actually came up.
Look at that. So he's investigating a doll. So that's going to connect us to the children energy, which is a significant energy because that connects to the inner child. So that's the manifestation of a soul and a spirit in its earliest stage before all the programming and before all the indoctrination. And for any, black magician occultists that want to harness that children energy, that pure essence, they can either, unfortunately, they can either use real children to do that. And there are going to be karmic repercussions to those types of people who do child sacrifice or anything in regards to harming a child like that. Or you could sort of mimic the energy ritualistically by getting a doll. Okay, so whoever's doing this type of ritual, they're smart for not actually bringing a real child into it. They're mimicking it through ritualistic symbolism by actually getting a doll that symbolizes the child. So I'm sure they use that in a form of child sacrifice, but not actually sacrificing a child. Because once again, that child, the child for any child is a very powerful, pure energy because there's very little indoctrination, very little programming, and they're just a pure manifestation of that source essence. So when you're a black magician and you want to harness that energy, you can mimic that by bringing a doll of a child into the ritual and sort of sacrifice it to create that death energy, which means energy tending to change, and direct it into whatever it is that you're wanting, whether it's self-development, self-empowerment, and physical gains, okay, physical manifestations. So that's why there's a doll there.
Been wrapped around her.
Oh, and then the scarlet snake. So what are the odds of that? There is a red scarlet snake. I was just talking about the Scarlet Woman, and I was talking about the Scarlet Woman also because we saw all those red crosses that they were talking about. So there's a scarlet snake, very symbolic. That is very symbolic, the fact that there is a scarlet snake there. And I don't even know if that's something that they placed there or not. That's actually really interesting. That sounds more spiritual to me than an actual like intended placement, because that snake could have went anywhere. Like even if they brought the snake there, I mean, the odds of it staying there in that exact space where they left it doesn't make sense. Like it could have slithered off anywhere. But it seems like there's already a lot of that demonic energy there, that Scarlet Woman energy. And now there's a real life physical manifestation of a scarlet snake. Like, what are the odds of that? Right. So this is a manifestation of a real ritualistic phenomena we're actually seeing manifest in this clip.
And I picked up this, there it is. I picked up the scarlet snake, and which, you know, is kind of weird that there's a live snake, a red snake on this doll. And I've caught a lot of snakes in my life, and that is the only one that was bleeding out of its anus.
Interesting. So the snake is bleeding as well, specifically out of its anus. Very interesting. Now, once again, the blood connects us back to that Scarlet Woman as well. And as this guy is saying right here, he says he's done this for a long time and he's never seen that happen. That's very interesting.
There's blood coming out of its beehole, which, you know, I don't know why, who knows what. It was a little weird to me. And then the night just kind of gets weirder from there.
And then the snake in general is going to represent the serpent energy. So if we even connect back, so this is the interesting part about this whole thing. Whoever did the ritual connected to this video that we're reacting to right now, that we're breaking down, this guy discovering this and being on Joe Rogan's podcast and talking about it and putting it on his own YouTube channel is a part of the manifestation of these black magicians' ritual. Like what we're watching right now is a part of their manifestation, because this is taking all of us through this subconscious ritual where these energies are present. And this is the crazy thing about it. People don't understand that. They don't think that's true. They don't think that can happen. They don't think it's real. But this is a part of the ritual. And the snake being there as well is very symbolic, because the snake was the tree on the tree of knowledge, which Adam and Eve were told not to eat from. And they did anyways. And that was the opening to the Kabbalistic realm. So the fact that we're seeing an actual scarlet snake here, one, connects us to that Scarlet Woman energy, that feminine energy that initiates us into our own deep subconscious, unconscious mind. And the snake itself is the serpent energy, which is the sexual energy in general, which represents power, energy, and movement, we could even say. And it's just, this is deep subconscious symbolism that actually transfers all of us that are watching this. I mean, I already work with these energies very deeply, so I exist in that realm. But for other people who are spending a lot of time and energy running away from their deep unconscious and repressed emotions, this video is a part of that ritual, which triggers that phenomena to bubble up even more so to the surface, and people wouldn't even understand that.
You see the red lettering in the other clip. It was a big Latin saying, like 100-foot long, pretty much, on the road. I drove over it. We later translated it to turn around, run, hide. He is watching you. Go further into the complex, and there's these big abandoned buildings.
So remember what I keep saying, when it comes to black magic, real black magic, this is the art of working with parts of yourself that you are most afraid to feel and to look into. So with what he's saying about that translation that they wrote on the wall, what does that produce right when you read it? Fear. So it's like it takes a certain type of person to process that fear, feel into it, and actually move deeper into it. Whereas the average person is going to look at that and turn away. So that's just the nature of this darker energy. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's not that there's someone he's watching you. It's can you process that fear and realize there is no one watching you? But are you willing to go through that? Are you willing to process that?
In the building, you know, still just python hunting. Like, you know, who knows what these kids are doing out here. I thought it was strange, the Latin, your average kid just messing around, don't know Latin sayings like that. And then I come to this big room where there's the big pentagram. In the middle of the pentagram, there is a three-legged plastic chair with a blood stain in the bottom of it where you could tell something was killed, sacrificed, whatever. On each wall, there's 3 walls. On each wall, there's upside down crosses, Latin sayings, and all kinds of stuff. As I'm kind of walking into the room, which, you know, I don't want to sound like a psycho or anything, but that doll from earlier grabbed my leg. I don't know if I kicked it, I didn't see it or what, but that doll from the rock pile somewhere else, I don't know if it was another doll or what. I never seen that other doll. I kick it. It seemed like it grabbed me. It's that same doll from earlier. Same thing with the cross on its forehead, the one eye cocked over, the other eye messed up. And so, you know, it's very, very weird to me. It kind of like scared me. Right.
So there's a lot we can unpack there. But so when he said the doll grabbed him, I'm not saying it didn't, but most likely at this point, because he's entering into this ritualistic environment, there's going to be a lot of energy there. There's going to be a lot of dark energy. So naturally, remember what I keep saying, that dark energy is designed to take us to some of the deepest portions of the unconscious, subconscious mind. So what happens when you're someone like who's, you could say like your average Joe, like this guy who's walking into a energetically charged environment with that much dark energy, your unconscious mind can start to surface things that then project. And if he wasn't processing the fear that he was feeling while he's going through this environment or you know, looking around the way he is, it's very likely that his own unconscious can trick him into thinking things are happening that aren't actually happening. Once again, I'm not saying that the doll didn't grab him. There is that potential, but it's a lot less likely that that was the case. It's more likely that there's so much intense dark energy in the environment that he wasn't able to process it because he didn't have the capacity to. And because of that, his mind saw the doll grab him or felt the doll grab him. And that's producing the emotion of fear once again, which is something that we all have as human beings rooted in our past trauma. And because he's in that energetically charged environment, it's bringing that fear to the surface however it needs to show up. And in the way that he's interpreting that is the doll grabbed me. But I truly don't think the doll actually grabbed him. I think it was his unconscious, subconscious mind seeing that happen to him, where he felt like, or he thought that's what took place, when I don't think truly that is.
Next, wasn't there and then it was there. So
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice
you
it.
didn't carry it over there.
No, I didn't touch it.
So was anybody else with you?
I had 2 guys with me that didn't even want to get out of the truck when they seen the first thing. They stayed in the truck.
So
you can already tell there was a lot of fear there. So once again, this whole Black Magician's path is about processing the emotions in our body that we typically do not want to feel. So that's fear, loneliness, sadness, depression, sorrow, processing these, because these are things that root so much deeper in our past than what we a lot of times give credit to. So when we're children, we go through trauma that leaves these emotions lodged in our nervous system. In past lives, through our lineage, we go through trauma that leaves these emotions in our genetic code and in our bloodline that we then reincarnate into and have to process. So clearly there's a lot of fear that's being triggered from this dark energy environment, because that's what black magic is designed to do. And if they were doing rituals there, for whatever reason they were, it's gonna trigger a lot of that dark energy. So as he's walking into that environment, or they're getting closer, it's enhancing all of those repressed emotions that are in his nervous system. And for him and his friends, that primary emotion right now is fear. And to the point where his friends didn't even want to go in, but he's going in. But you can imagine he's going in probably trying to override the fear. So when you are trying to override these emotions, that's when they unconsciously project even stronger. So if you're processing the fear, feeling it, experiencing it, which is what we typically do as black magicians, because we're seeking it, we're triggering it, and we're allowing ourselves to process it, to turn it into our power, we're gonna be able to work with that energy in a different way. Whereas if you have someone like him who's walking into this energetically charged environment, trying to not feel the fear, but trying to tell yourself it's going to be okay, nothing's wrong, I'm safe, then you're overriding what you're actually feeling. And that rooted emotion of fear is going to have to manifest itself, but it's going to do it unconsciously. So it's going to manifest in a doll, you thinking a doll is grabbing you, or thinking like supernatural things are happening when they aren't necessarily doing that. Not saying that there isn't supernatural stuff taking place. I'm sure there can be, and there is, because of that energetically charged environment, but I highly doubt the doll actually grabbed him.
Same doll that you saw on the rock pile somehow made its way to where you were?
Yep. I don't know if it's a duplicate doll or what, but it's same.
Was it more than one of those dolls?
Only doll I seen. Only doll I seen. I'm not big on the whole supernatural thing, so I'm real doubtful of it in the first place. But to me, it was the same doll from earlier. I did not see it until it hit my foot. Right next to that doll, there is a saying on the ground that says, "The omen will follow," which to me was like the creepiest thing.
Yeah, he's really scared. So the omen will follow. What does that mean? Because he walked into that ritualistic environment where there was a lot of dark energy and there was a lot of invocation of demonic forces, that dark energy, once you're in that environment, there is an energetic transference that takes place. So it's almost like, for example, like you go on vacation and you go to somewhere really nice to vacation. And let's say you're going to like some tropical place, like just some tropical place that has tropical beaches. You go to the environment and you feel very different. And then when you go to leave the environment, you go back home, that energy of what you were experiencing in that nice tropical environment still kind of lingers. It still stays there. Like you kind of feel like, in a way, you kind of feel like you're still there. And then it slowly starts to dissipate. So a similar type of thing happens, especially when it comes to ritualistic workings and the occult. When someone's doing heavy, intense rituals, especially demonic ones, that energy is going to stay there for a while. I mean, it can stay there for a long time. And as he's walking into this environment, there's an energetic transference taking place from what these occultists channeled and what they brought down from that experience. And because we understand that this is black magic in nature, it's going to trigger that deeper unconscious phenomena. It's going to trigger that deeper repressed emotions to come to the surface. So when they say the omen will follow you, that's what they're saying. Like, even when you leave this environment, you're still going to be processing those negative emotions. Almost like a doorway within the self is opened up so that you can go through this emotional integration. Now, see, most people that watch this, like 98% of people that watch this, they think it's evil. They think it's wrong because they hear the word demon or they hear the word devil and they see all these scary symbols. And I can completely understand why people would believe that. I mean, it's literally promoted that way in the mass collective as well, to keep people in this kind of like religious programming or good versus evil mindset. But in reality, none of that is actually evil. Okay, this is energy that now that he's walked into it, he has an opportunity to process things that he's been afraid to feel, because we can clearly see the emotion that he's working with here is fear. So it's going to bring things up from his past that are connected to why he's so afraid. And he has an opportunity to process that and heal that. Or it could go the other route where he tries to distract even more and run away from it. And that's when bad things manifest. So that's actually what mainstream occultism, the entertainment industry, and many other popular industries actually use as a technology to keep you in a state of being traumatized. they promote these unconscious doorways to open up inside of yourself so you can start working through your own underworld. But then they're also promoting distracting in unhealthy ways. So I like to call that having unhealthy coping mechanisms. And that keeps you in a space where you're like resurfacing past trauma, which is really hard to experience, while also being led into distracting, numbing yourself out, running away. And that keeps you stagnant, spiritually speaking, and it really keeps you in a state of suffering. And when you're in that state of suffering, now people can profit off of you and keep you in that sort of like cattle-like state while, we run our business and we just give you products and we tell you what to believe and we tell you what to do and we just profit off of you. So that is what happens and that's what's going on. But at the end of the day, remember what I said, none of it's evil. This is a part of evolution. There is a reason why there is a matrix like this that exists on our planet today. And it gives people an opportunity to grow and to learn that I don't want to be stuck in this cycle anymore. I can break the cycle. And that's what creates the difference from the soul that starts to progress and know more of their true self and follow their purpose, between the soul that's going to stay spiritually stagnant and have to keep reincarnating until they figure it out. And there's nothing wrong with that. It takes time, but that's what we're seeing here. So that omen, that energy will follow him all the way up until now. Clearly, he's talking about it still. So it's still there.
The whole thing was like, that if you interact with any of this spirit's going to follow you.
Yep.
Which I'm Christian. I believe in God and I wasn't worried. I know the good Lord has my.
Yeah. So the spirit will follow him. That's true. And I know like in the very Hollywood way of looking at it, it's like the demonic spirit is going to attach to you and follow you and try to destroy you. And you have to free yourself of it. And it's like, that's a way we can look at it, but that's not really what's going on. It's not that the demonic spirit's trying to destroy you anyways. It's trying to break down the parts of you that you're afraid to let go of. And you can work with that demonic energy. You don't have to resist it so that it keeps persisting and attacking you. And that's how we should all be working with these energies, because we all have inner angelic and demonic energies. We all have a positive and a negative pole inside of us. And in his experience, once again, he see what I said, it resorts right back to religious programming, religious trauma. I'm a Christian. I'm not worried about it. It's not going to affect me. But deep down in his true self, he is worried about it. He's afraid. And the natural human response in his case is to acknowledge, I'm afraid. And it's okay to be afraid. So let me feel the fear and let me process it. Let me not try to spiritually bypass and say, oh, well, I'm a Christian, so I'm not afraid. I'm good. When in reality, you're terrified, right? So it's all about authenticity and allowing yourself to feel what you're actually feeling. That's how you process and integrate past unhealed traumas.
Back. But very strange, right? Very strange. As we go through, there's all kind of different stuff. In one of the rooms, there's a sleeping bag with something inside of it. I don't think it was a body, anything like that. Police went out there, investigated it. I didn't investigate further past that. Something was inside the sleeping bag, and on the walls, there was, looked like red spray paint, and it said, she was only 9. We gave her to the devil, like basically talking about sacrificing a child. And then you have this little girl's gown that's nailed to the wall with like a dark red stain on it.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And what was the investigation? Did you follow up and find out what they found out?
I never heard anything from it. I'm assuming they never found much from it because I never heard anything from it.
Did they know it was human blood that was in the chair?
I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think it's red spray paint, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, in my perspective, it seems like they were using the dolls to represent children, but they weren't actually using real children in their ritual. That's what it looks like to me. Okay. And once again, if someone is using like real children as ritual sacrifice, there are karmic laws that person will experience when you're doing that, because you are putting a soul through, you're taking a soul's life away very soon. And on some level, the soul agrees to it. That's why it happens. But if you're the person that's also doing the act, there's karma that's embedded within that. So it's just not, it's clearly not something you want to do. So yeah, so that would be my perspective on that. It looks like they're kind of mimicking a child sacrifice. And that can, like, in regards to occult technology, that can actually access a lot of power. Okay, just because I was talking about like what children represent, and it's smart of them to not do it for real, right? To ritualize it in a way that is obviously not going to really harm a child. So that's interesting.
For the sake of the story, who knows what it was?
Yeah.
So, you know, we continue on with our hunt. We end up starting to get out of there. The guys are like, dude, we want to go. We don't like this shit. I'm like, all right, you know, let's pack it up. Let's go. So we start making our way out, and I see flashlights. I mean, there's one road in, one road out. There's a gate at the end of it. You can't drive a vehicle in. And I mean, we're miles out here. You have to drive miles to then walk miles, right? So I see this flashlight bouncing on the side of the road as I'm driving out. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? No, I've never seen anyone out here in my life, ever. Getting closer to them. I have my pistol in my truck. I put my pistol on my lap, you know, just in case. As I'm getting closer, about to kind of pass the guy's like, Mike. It's my name. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm definitely shooting this guy. Like, what the fuck, you know? And he's like, I love your Instagram. I was like,
oh, that's funny. Oh, wow. That's funny.
July 69 with him.
Interesting. So that was quite the interesting video right there. So we did the breakdown on that. That actually ended up being a lot longer than what I thought it would be. So that almost took us an hour to get through, just because I kind of broke down some extra occult symbolism. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. Hopefully, you know, as I did this breakdown, you were able to learn some things that maybe you previously didn't fully understand. But once again, as a professional occultist myself, this is how I'm interpreting this type of experience as someone who actually understands these things. And based on what those people were doing in the ritual, like the people that set all that symbolism up, I think that based on some of the stuff they were saying and all that other stuff that they were incorporating, I don't think that they were the most advanced occultists. I think that they probably were a little bit of a younger crowd, probably in their 20s. And they were, you know, starting to get into black magic, and a group of them got together and they sort of intuitively brought things that allowed them to access some of that darker energy, that darker primal nature within themselves. And they ritualized it and they invoked certain demonic energies. That's what I believe happened. But I do not think that they're really advanced professional occultists that understand all the symbology and all the technology of occultism, like myself. That's just my perspective on that as well. So, and I'm speaking from a place of personal experience where I remember when I was at that stage, which was kind of like in my earlier stages of occult practicing, and I went into an abandoned mansion myself, and I brought spray paint, and I brought the pentagram, and I wrote these demonic sigils on the walls, and I was doing rituals there, and I even had a black mirror, and I brought my book, and I was invoking dark energies, and, you know, I've done all that stuff. And then shortly after, this is the funny thing, shortly after I did some major rituals inside of this abandoned mansion, literally, they started building the mansion again. And it was abandoned for years. But then they started building it, and they saw all my stuff that was in there. And they freaked out about it, because just like this guy is freaking out, it's like I've been that person that's on the other end. So like I was the person doing the rituals with all my symbolism and all the demonic energy in there. And I kind of was able to observe how they responded to it, and they freaked out, and they ended up putting cameras everywhere. And then they started working on the mansion out of nowhere. It was abandoned for years. So as I said, that's why I kind of get the feeling that whoever it was that did that type of stuff, they're probably a little bit younger in their occult practices, in the sense of they haven't been doing it for years on end. And yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean it's not powerful. It absolutely is. I mean, it manifested in me talking about it. It manifested in this hitting the Joe Rogan show. Whatever they did was a powerful ritual, and it's actually triggering into the mass collective, opening up people to their deep unconscious mind. I mean, that symbolism alone with that child, the upside down crosses, and the snake, the scarlet snake, that's enough to trigger someone's deep unconscious to start bubbling up to the surface. And that's what we do as Black magicians. We challenge people to face the parts of themselves that they are most likely too afraid to face, because we know they have to face it. And some of us help people go through that process, whereas others don't give a shit whatsoever. So I trigger, for people that work with me, I can easily trigger this into someone's life. And my intention is to absolutely help guide them through that and sort of be that light bearer through the process. But at the same time, there are many people that kind of view my content and open up these doors within themselves and aren't seeking to be guided by me. And whatever happens with that person in regards to how they process, that's up to them at that point. There are some occultists that are just all about opening up these subconscious doorways, and they don't give a shit about guiding you whatsoever through it, mostly because they're not experienced enough themselves to really know how to do that. And there can be karmic laws that come into place with that too. So that's why there's levels to it. Okay. But once again, with that being said, this is going to wrap it up. Okay. I broke down what I feel like I needed to break down today. If you found that this was an interesting video, definitely hit the thumbs up button and let me know in the comment section. Let me know how this influenced you. Let me know if you want me to do more of these types of videos. Give me some recommendations, like literally go in the comment section. Let me know that the certain types of videos that you want me to break down, certain things that you want me to talk about while I do this screen share. As you saw, we kind of went into that Scarlet Woman side of things. I can do more of that stuff as well. We can talk about the abyss. We can talk about what Aleister Crowley said about it. We could talk about Quran's. We could talk about all kinds of different things. Okay, so drop down in that comment section and let me know if you resonated with this. Also, whatever else it is that you want me to break down. Make sure you're subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you're not yet subscribed, you're making a very big mistake. So go and subscribe. Make sure you do that. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I post this content. Okay, and I want to give a special shout out to a specific link that's now available in the YouTube video description, the EMF incense sticks. They are now available again. These are incense sticks that are not like your typical ones that you get at your local metaphysical shop or your smoke store. These are incense sticks that are literally organic. They burn for up to an hour. There is real monatomic gold that's soaked into them. There's a specific scent that's embedded into it as an occult formula to gain further access to some of those unconscious portions of yourself. These are some of the most energetically powerful and charged incense sticks that you can get your hands on. I've sold them in the past. They were selling out every time I stocked them. And then I stopped selling them, and I had a whole bunch of people ask me what happened. Now they're back out. Okay, so at that fourth link below, you can buy your EMF incense sticks and have them directly shipped out to yourself. All right, so look into that. Also, if you want to gain access to exclusive content, you have to check out my Patreon. Okay, Patreon is the first link in the description. There is a Universe B vampire ritual that I offer on the 29th of every single month that has one. This month's ritual is being performed. If you want to take advantage of this month, you have to be signed up as a tier 3 or 4 member of the Patreon by the 28th. The 28th is the deadline. Right now, as I'm saying this, it is currently the 26th. I just did the mass reach out today, but if you join after that, I will be personally reaching out to you, getting all the information that I need from you so that you can be included. This ritual helps to tune your body to those demonic energies it shifts you from what's called universe A into universe B. Okay, this is like the side of reality that is more governed by the negative polarity, the black magician's awareness. So you start loving yourself more and you polarize in that way. You start claiming your power back. You start establishing healthy boundaries that you need to better love yourself. You start undoing religious indoctrination and you stop seeing things from that lens of good and evil, but you start to see things from the way that they actually are. So chaos and dark energy, you start seeing that really all it is evolution and evolutionary potential is what you see it as. Power and evolutionary potential, because that's literally what it is. As we allow ourselves to be receptive to it and process it for what it is, not resist it. So that also, once again, sets the stage for demonic energies that exist within our universe to stop attacking us and stop being that adversary to us, but rather we can start working with them to realize they're trying to show us things about ourselves that we need to feel and we need to know, or we need to process. And as we go through that process, we increase our power even more. So there's over 100, there's over 117 members right now that are currently taking advantage of this service. So there are 117 members that are going to be taking advantage of this month's service. And this number is just continuing to grow as time goes on. So if you want to take advantage of it, you know what to do. Patreon in that first link, and you're getting access to a whole multitude of different benefits on the Patreon as well. I'll let you look into that. Mentorships are the second link in the YouTube description. If you want me as a personal mentor to help take you step by step through the exact process that you need to go through to prepare yourself for the deeper levels of occult initiation and self-development, definitely consider booking a mentorship with me. The first thing that we focus on is cultivating your foundation, making sure that you have a strong, healthy foundation in place so that you can actually start the real emotional processing and integration. Then we can start transitioning into the occult stuff, developing relationships with spirits, and then getting into Kabbalistic, Kabbalistic initiation, if that's something you're open to. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But this is what I have expertise in. Okay, so I've got several mentorships that are active right now. I've got literally, I think there are 6 active mentorships that are going right now. And I've done over 14 mentorships in total. Okay, and most of them have been reoccurring mentorships as well. So if this is something that you resonate with, look into it. It's that second link below. Now, also in that same second link, you have an option to book a tarot card reading with me. Just be patient if you book, because it takes me a little bit of time to get to the people that book the readings with me. That's another service that I offer. And then we have the YouTube membership in the third link below. If you want to become a YouTube member and gain access to a multitude of different benefits, the Psychic Warfare Emoji Program being one of them, definitely check out that YouTube membership. If you join, you get access to that Psychic Warfare Emoji Program right out the gates. Okay. With that being said, this is going to wrap it up. We've almost hit the hour-long mark. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.